Welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged, like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Storytime with Uncle Reddit channel. I'm John, and yeah, I read stories. Tales from Tech Support, malicious compliance, and as of yesterday, Kevin in a big rig. So if you like stories about people being Kevins, kind of like the male equivalent of Karen, let me know. I probably won't do a whole ton of like 1 and 2 hour videos because they're pretty taxing for this old body and mind. Not that my mind was super stable beforehand, but they're good for about a 15-minute video usually, and I can throw those in once in a while too, so let me know down below. Alright, let's read some tech support. Tales of woe from an old IT support guy. Just joined this thread, and as a 68-year-old who has spent most of his life in IT from support to management, I've accrued a few stories. It was suggested I post a few here. About 20 years ago, I was the IT manager for a large London trading bank. The traders, about 100 of them, were not known for being a calm and collected bunch, and one year a trader was so pissed off that he didn't get the yearly bonus he wanted or expected, he threw one of the old 14-inch CRT monitors through the second floor window of the bank, which crashed to the pavement below. Reminds me of Office Space. Okay. He could so easily have killed someone below, but as luck and timing would have it, no one got hurt. He was frog-marched off the premises, and that was the last I thought anyone would see of him. But lo and behold, the next day he was back at his desk, and the bank had given him the bonus he wanted. I soon came to realize that the traders made so much money for the bank that they were really the ones running the show. The traders ran the bank. During my 9 years there, I lost count of how many times a trader said he would have me smacked because I did not attend to his IT problem above everyone else. I quickly learned it was all bluff and posturing, and I grew a thick skin pretty quick. You had to in order to survive in such a high-pressure environment where any trader's system could cost the bank millions if it went down mid-trade or market collapse, etc. Anyway, just one of my many incidents, but probably the most dramatic. Others were of a more humorous nature. Wow. They sound touchy. Of course, you know, traders have that sort of type A, high-strung personality anyway. That's why a lot of day traders back in the day kind of hurled themselves off of buildings and bridges and, yeah, that kind of stuff. But I will say this. I've done a lot of jobs in my life. Service-related, custom furniture, high-dollar stuff. I've worked management, I've worked grunt work, worn a tie a few times, if you can believe that. That's back when I had to shave. Ugh. But there's one thing that I never stood for in any job, and I'll tell you, I'd rather eat out of a dumpster first. No one will ever threaten me with being smacked. Not going to happen. I don't do it, so they damn sure better not do it to me. And that's that. I'm usually a pretty happy guy until somebody makes me not happy. Calculator problem. Not in tech support. I'm just a 17-year-old boy, but I think this goes here. I was in the examination hall giving a small physics test. Giving or taking? We're all allowed calculators for examinations, and those are expensive. It's a Casio FX CG50 and costs 11,000 rupees. Okay, $150. Sort of like the TI-81 or 83 or 84 Plus, something like that. Since I'm good at physics, I was done fairly quickly and handed my answer sheet to the teacher. While walking back, my friend in the front asked me to borrow my calculator. I asked him what happened, and he showed me his calculator. Apparently, he was calculating square root of some number, and it was giving him answer in square roots. He said there's some setting problem and asked me for my calc again. There was a button on the calculator that allowed to change any square root and fractions to decimals. I pressed it and returned his calculator. Mind you, we've been using this calculator for 2 years, and this button was also mentioned in the guide. He never even read that and threw it away. Considering these are expensive, anyone would look it up how to use it such that you don't mess something up. I promptly give him his calc, and he thanks me for saving his paper. The twist here is that there were no square root calculations involved in the entire paper. Oh my god. I quietly told him that his answer is wrong and walked away surprised. I scored a full on the test. Well, good for you, OP. Sounds like you're pretty sharp with those numbers. Yeah, I'm more of a practical math guy. I have a hard time getting my head around certain concepts. They're just a little too abstract for Uncle Reddit. But if I can draw something on a piece of paper, a piece of plywood with a stick in the dirt, whatever, I can measure out, I can lay out a set of stairs for you, rise and run, all that. The same with the roof, rise and run, get the pitch of the roof, figure out rafters. I can do all that kind of stuff, but construction math is a different kind of mentality, for sure. Woman doesn't understand the difference between IT and app development. I had studied for a few semesters for a Bachelor of Computer Science, but when Corona hit, I dropped out and started doing a traineeship for a company as an app developer. I was working for the company for 4 months now, freshly out of my probation, which ended about a week ago. The app team of R&D has a big office with multiple workstations, and the office of the R&D head is right next door. I was the only one in that day, the rest having vacation or working from home, including the head, happily working on my project when the office phone rings. I look at the number and see that it's from another office phone from this location. The company operates worldwide and I'm in our HQ in Germany. I of course pick up since I'm the only one present. R&D, app team, OP, apparat? Translation, OP speaking. Thank you for that, because I'm sure I butchered it. My laptop isn't working. I'm confused for a moment since this was a German facility, but chalk it up to one of our non-German employees being here for some reason. And them calling me instead of IT was probably just a mix-up. I'm sorry, this is R&D, not IT. I can give you the number if you want. I know, no one's picking up there. Have you tried going there? It's in the basement of the main building. No, I have better things to do. You're working with computers as well, so fix it. I'm sorry, I'm only a trainee. There's no one else in the office right now. So? I don't have the authority and probably not the knowledge to fix your laptop. After I finish, there's a short pause and then the line's cut. I don't think anything about it and go back to work. 5 minutes later, a woman comes into the office and slams a laptop on my desk in front of me, demanding I fix it. I reiterate that I don't really have permission to do anything, but can take a very rough look if she wants, but nothing more than she has permission to do, really. She grumbles and logs in. Immediately, I notice she has around 70 Chrome tabs open on this laptop. Holy cow. I tell her that's most likely the problem if her computer is just running slowly. Her response is that it is never a problem in her office. I tell her that it's all I can do. A bit of back and forth that comes down to her not knowing the difference between IT and R&D, and she gets up and tells me that my manager will hear about this. I shrug because I know there's nothing she can do to me. I can't get fired for not doing a job that isn't mine, and my probation period is over. As she leaves, she immediately turns and barges into the office of the head of R&D, who's working from home. She stands still for a moment before glaring at me and telling me, "Your manager will hear of this, and he will take action against you," which in itself is funny because the R&D head is a woman. Once she's gone, I inform my trainee supervisor of what just happened. He tells me I did everything right and can't face consequences. A day later, the head tells me I handled the situation perfectly. My supervisor had informed her about 15 minutes before a mail from the woman came demanding I was punished. How can people not understand the difference between IT and app development? Well, generally speaking, people are stupid, and I'm in that category too. When it comes to things that we don't deal with on a daily basis, we're pretty dumb. To them, tech is tech is tech is tech. App development, report generation, fixing a laptop, fixing an iPhone, it's all the same. I'm pretty sure the average person would think that the Jiffy Lube down the street could, repair the turbo housing on your giant John Deere bulldozer too, so they really have no concept. That's the same reason that a lot of Karens and Kens and Kevins tend to treat, places like Little Caesars like a 5-star restaurant, I know the manager, I'll get you fired. So, Busted laptop screen. I was in IT for 47 years and had my own shop for 23 of it. During that time, I witnessed many, mostly, strange and wonderful things. This is just one such occurrence. I had a healthcare client for several years that primarily did her PC work from home, and she had a son who was about 8 when we started out. Every time I was there to fix something, he was a little shadow wanting to know what I was doing. If Mom didn't mind paying me for the extra time that I was taking to answer his questions, it wasn't a bother to me. She said that he was interested in computers. Okay, cool. I can be a mentor. Over time, whenever he'd see me, he'd pump me for info about this system or that one and games. He'd do this when I was doing work for his mom, or since he was now older, he'd stop into my shop every once in a while. One day, Mom, the kid with a bandage on his head and a laptop, came into the shop. I asked what was going on. Mom looked at the kid and said, "You tell him." The kid slowly started out that there's a problem with the laptop screen. I said, "Okay, let's take a look." I open it up, hearing the plastics crack and creak, and in the middle is a large depression with little bits of plastic sticking out. The kid said that he was playing a game, was stuck on a level, got pissed off, and picked up the laptop and bashed the front and top of his head with it several times. This resulted in several stitches having to be applied, hence the reason for the bandage around his head. He had not only done in the screen, but the base and lid plastics where the hinges attached. After attaching what was left of the laptop to an external monitor and saw that it was still functioning, I gave Mom my diagnosis. Yes, it still works, but the cost of the screen, plastics, and labor might outweigh the cost of a new laptop. By this time, she was really ticked off. I found out that the kid has ADHD and was going to the alternative school. The majority of their school material was online, and that was his laptop for schoolwork. I told her that we have a workaround for home, but not at school. This was around the time that the LCD from CRT Technology was going on. Having been a long-time customer, I told her that if she had the space, I'd let her use one of the old CRTs I had for free, and that we could get him going for school at home. We went to her house. She cleaned up a spot at the dining room table where the kid usually sat and said, "Set it up here." I guess the kid was going to be eating somewhere else for a while. About 2 weeks later, she had me over to move his documents and programs, less the games, to the new laptop. Yeah, I'm not sure ADHD has anything to do with that kid smashing himself in the head with a laptop. There was definitely some other issues going on there, whether it was other psychological issues or general behavioral issues. But if the kid really wants to learn how to fix computers, then that's a good place to start. Maybe you could scrounge some old parts and have him start repairing the old laptop. Although Mom probably had to turn that into the school already, if it was the school's laptop. I'm not sure. It didn't really say in there. I kind of half expected Mom to kind of blame you for whatever the kid did to the laptop and his skull. And on a side note, when I worked for the Board of Ed where I live now, I spent more than half of my time at the Board of Ed working in special ed at the alternative school. Yeah. Now I make videos and soap. Everything was working perfectly, but this was easily my favorite service call. I'm a residential security systems installer, but my boss calls me a tech, so hopefully that's close enough to share a tale that maybe you real techs can empathize with. Empathize. Yeah, that's probably what it's supposed to say, empathize with. Because some weird stuff happens down here, and I've got some stories I've been telling the rookies for years. My most memorable service call happened probably 10 years ago, right around when I finally went from understanding enough to do the job to really getting a good understanding of how it all really worked. There's not really a lot of knowledge required in this field. You gotta know standard stuff, where you can and can't put things, specific laws and stuff, but you don't really have to know too much of why. The equipment is cheap enough that it's not worth the time to really get deep into the why. If it doesn't work, move it or replace it, so it can take some time to really start understanding how it works. So I get a call about one of my recent installs. I put a lot of effort into doing things right because if I don't, I'm still the one who has to go back and fix it, and that sucks to do. So my natural bias is that the customer wasn't paying attention to the instructions and hit a wrong button, but false alarms really piss the local police off, so when you get a call, you go soon. This particular customer had a glass break detector in the master bedroom go off. Not every night, but a lot of the times right as they go to bed. It's important to know what's happening when it happens so I can determine if it's a faulty system or if it's being triggered somehow accidentally. The detector detects sound, some particular wavelengths that the most common types of window glass gives off when broken. But it errs on the side of caution, so loud, sharp noises within short distances can trigger it. So you start at the oh my god, I know where this is going. So you start at the usual suspects. Were you watching a loud action movie? Slam a door? Drop something heavy or made of glass? None of those. I remember a few years ago a small dog in a room going ballistic set one off, but this one was in a larger carpeted room. But I was out of ideas, so I asked him, "Do you guys have a small yippy dog?" The husband grinned and the wife looked away. I am done. Oh. They didn't say at first what the nights it did go off had in common. When they asked why about the dog, I went into explaining the thing about loud, sharp noises. Turns out she was that loud, sharp noise.
Your mama sure does care about your schooling, son.
Knowing this and that it's not faulty, I turned down the sensitivity a bit, and they never had another problem. And I'd be mad too if my alarm system continually went off every time things got good. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's why you don't want alarm sensors or security cameras in your room. Lesson from old Uncle Reddit there, kids. When I use Zoom, other end user cannot hear me or see me, but I can hear and see them. In my organization, I support all communication, application tools, and other things. You have to understand one thing about me. If it doesn't fall under my support group, I'm not doing it. Because you are not paying me to do anything else outside my job role. Unless you're extremely nice, then maybe I'll go out of my way for you. Today we're going to talk about Zoom. Anyways, the user stated that she had talked to 3 other reps today and they couldn't figure out what the issue was. That's got to be rough considering it takes an hour just to get through to my support line. So if you had to be transferred, you're already a couple hours into the call. So at this point, she's already annoyed, but understandable. I got her to calm down a bit and told her, I'll do what I can and let's focus on the issue at hand. So I get the IP address and remote into her laptop. Right when I go into her laptop, I notice something odd. The mouse pointer was annoyingly shaking. So I inquire with the user what that was about. She said she doesn't know, but it seems that whenever one of our agents remote into her laptop, it just shakes like that. Whatever, not my issue right now. Clue number 1. Let me check out the Skype setting just to make sure your speakers and microphone are working properly. That's strange. Your Skype is saying your speakers and microphone can't be found. Clue number 2. Let's go see what's going on with the sound setting in the control panel. That's odd. Your microphone's not listed here. Also, your speakers say remote speaker. Clue number 3. At this point, I'm stumped, unsure why the speaker's saying remote speaker and why the microphone's missing. So I started to ask general questions. Did you update your laptop recently? No. When was the last time all this worked properly? Before I started working remotely, it worked just fine at the office. I only had this issue when I work remotely. Do you use a VDI, virtual desktop interface? I don't know what that is. I glance over at her profile. Nothing showing that she uses a VDI. I use a docking station. Could that be causing the issue, she said? No, but let's go ahead and remove it from the docking station and see what happens. Nothing changed when the laptop was removed from the docking station. Eventually, she kept saying something about, I logged into my desktop, several times throughout our conversation. Clue number 4. At first, I'm like, what is she talking about? Everyone needs to log into their desktop to work. Why does she keep saying she logs into her desktop? Then it hit me. I think she's using another type of VDI that is not logged into her profile. I spent about 10 minutes trying very hard to explain to her what a VDI is. The whole time she kept denying that she's not logged into a VDI. After some back and forth, I finally got to her. I was able to get the IP address and remote it into her laptop. Turns out she was using an application called Remote Desktop. Ding, ding, ding. And that was why she kept saying, I logged into my desktop. To be fair, I didn't know team members were still using these applications considering we have better tech. I explained to her slowly in great detail that she can't make Zoom or Skype calls inside the VDI because it won't capture her microphone. If there was a way to fix this, it's still out of my support group. Hardware and application can handle this. Then she asked why the other agent couldn't figure this out. I told her it's because most likely no one really knew you were using a VDI. Stupid phone. Had I not pressed for more info from you, I would assume it would be a hardware issue. As I was ready to let the user go, I just have to know, why are you logging into the remote desktop application? She went on with a very long story about how she's been here for so long and she's been logging into the remote desktop and had stored data file in that environment and needed to get to them. Even then, it makes no sense why she still needed to log into the remote desktop while she was at the office. So she's either restricted to store files on her local drive or she's just making her job harder than it needed to be. As far as I know, a restriction didn't exist. Whatever, not my place to tell people how to do their job. I never really had to do much in the way of logging in remotely to anything, no network crap like that ever, until recently. I was away in Florida helping my mom set up for the winter and also doing a flooring job. If you ever go to do flooring in a camper, estimate double the time you think it's going to take you. Anyway, I was going to try to do a video for you guys. Well, all my base files were here at home on my PC. So I log into my wife's laptop. I get my son-in-law to set up go to my PC here, and I set it up there, and yeah, I started transferring files, and I just found out that on her laptop I was going nuts. I couldn't do the video, so then I quit. I just quit, apologized to you guys, and did that community post. And then I get home and go to do my first video once I'm home, and all my base files are gone. When I dragged them over, I thought I was copying them. Nope, I transferred them all. Right out of this computer and into that one. So I had to go log back on and transfer them back. I guess I could have done it with my external hard drive, but whatever. Ain't tech grand. If you enjoyed this content, do me a favor. Click this video here on the screen. I think you're going to enjoy this one too. Thanks, guys. See ya.